Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another set of Genshin Impact reactions. Today we have two songs from Mua's the 14th, and these are songs I'm going to have to read the title off screen because it starts with a word I've never seen before, so excuse me while I look down here. Kuuvahki. It's the Kuuvahki Experimental Design Bureau Interior Theme 3, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of words, and the Fatui Bass Battle Theme. These are both songs I've never heard of. Apparently they're part of the Welcome Moon stuff, and I didn't even know that was a facility you could go to. Like I've said before, I've been avoiding that entire area for obvious reasons, so I'm going to get to hear what some of the music in these areas sounds like, and not just the stuff that's in the overworld, so it could be a completely different sound going on there, but I won't know if I don't listen. So without further ado, let's go! Very moody, like, not much going on here. Plenty of room for things to happen. This is kind of random, but can you walk on the rocks up here if you, like, jump up here? Like, I know that's just me being me, but, like, can you, if you can see my mouse on the little screen. I figure you can, but my brain has me wondering. Ooh, that shifts. Tight side chain on that kick too, like very cyber industrial. I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, some more of that, like the texture stuff that industrial loves to utilize. Very stripped down, simplified, but steady and heavy on the beat. Very industrial. Ooh. Is that a voice? I think it was a voice. That could have been a horn, though, to be honest. Techno-industrial is not something I expected to hear out of this game. I feel like a lot of people would normally agree with me, but if they know the lore of this area, which I have caught a little bit of, that would totally make sense. That concept of a world and a people building up and then being lost in a way to everything else going on in the world, there is that stress, and the industrialism, that, like, metaphor there, totally tracks with this sort of sound, and I really like how empty it is. Again, like a lot of industrial stuff, space is huge. You want to make sure there's a lot of room, a lot of echo, a lot of reverb. Basically everything in that family works well with this sort of genre, and therefore with this sort of space. You have something big, something ominous, something that you don't know the history of necessarily. That's kind of what industrial does. It hides the details in the space you have. It makes you go looking for it in the song itself, and with how empty this was in the first half, not kicking in until later, to where it almost sounded kind of like a sneaky theme, like a spy theme of some sort, which is also really cool. But either way, it's just the fact that it was so broad and empty, and it was more atmospheric until it brought in those industrial elements into it, which is something I don't hear too often, where they introduce that part later. Usually when they kick in the industrial stuff, it's like right away. Starting off with too much atmosphere might cause problems in the tonal direction of the song, but for this one, since we already know that this place is huge, the land before it is vast and basically empty, ripped to shreds effectively, there's just not much going on, and then you see this giant towering thing in the distance. I walked through the Welcome Moon area, I've walked through Nod Cry, and I have seen the scale in front of me and the things that are there and the places. I just haven't visited any of them to avoid any sort of story triggers. But this song perfectly reflects the feeling I was having when I walked through that like first section behind the initial town, and you saw this like what was on screen there, you saw that in the distance, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, I know I can reach that, but do I want to? Like, why is that there? That is huge, and you don't really have the answers to that either. You might have a general direction to head towards that if you need to for whatever story thing, but you don't have answers to that. And the closer you get, the more intense it feels, and that's when that kick in this song would start to like play in. I'm not saying this is actually the song that plays during that moment, but it definitely fits the vibe of that presence, you know? You have something that's huge and empty and vast, and the closer you get, the more intense it sounds and the more details are heard. You start getting more of those industrial elements of like the texture in there, those like crankings and whirrings that are going on. You can hear the sound coming from the building itself the closer you get, and I don't know what that is at the end. It sounded like a voice. I re-listened to it to see, and I really don't know what that sound is. I feel like it's a reflection of the world itself, the area that you're in, almost crying potentially, like it's a spirit around you that's just like, look at what they've done to me. Look at what they've built on top of my land, and therefore me, you know, it's like that sort of thing. I'm not sure how deep the lore goes on that sort of thing. I know that there are like spiritual beings and people who represent them in that area, but I think I've said all I want to on this one, so I have to listen to the other one yet, so let's get to that one. Okay, so we still have some of those sneaky elements. Is this directly connected then? The battle theme. Maybe this is the place then. Maybe this is where this would take place. So if this is the base, then the other song we heard would have been like the location that it's on. So there's some elements of like that theme at the very beginning as it shifts into the battle theme within it. Does have some elements of the other Fatui themes I've heard as far as the styling goes. A little bit more of that like ominous cinematic tone. Ooh. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Make every single run a little sour, you know? And there's those industrial elements in here. I was starting to worry, honestly. I'll explain why, but... Ooh, I like that it ends on that too. Probably just so it can loop, but I like that it ends on a note that doesn't resolve. I love it when they do that because it's like, oh, they're gonna loop it back around, but then when it just ends like that on these themes, you're always wondering what else is gonna happen. It kind of leaves you on that edge of not having an answer. Okay, so honestly, when I first heard that song, I thought the intro was really neat, how it kind of like blended what the prior song had as far as just little detail elemental stuff was thrown in, and I was like, ooh, that's a nice way to introduce the new theme. And then you start to blend it into that other sound. Like I said, it sounded very similar to other Fatui themes I've heard, very thematically constant there. Of course, it makes sense if it's a Fatui theme, you want it to sound like it's from the Fatui, but then it introduced those other elements like those industrial clanks and stuff in there. So it's starting to place itself more into the location, and that's why I was worried, because for most of it, it was just the Fatui, right? Like this could have been put anywhere in the game, but the fact that they blended in those little percussive elements to make it feel more industrial and more in location, more set to where they are in the world, I was honestly worried they weren't going to do that and it was just going to be a generic theme. But the fact that they put those little elements in there means a lot. And that said, there's also another detail I liked about this song, which is the overall energy to it, sounding more like a boss theme. There was more of an ominous presence to this song, even though it's just a battle theme, right? So you would assume, oh, it's just going to be kind of grunts and stuff, but this song cranks that up a little bit. It sounds more intense, and I don't think that's because of the characters you're fighting. I think those are going to be the usual fare of standard grunts that you would fight basically anywhere else. Nothing too threatening, not a mini boss or anything like that, but what it is more ominous due to the location you're in. A base. You are closer to their home turf. It is their home turf, and that is scarier for you as the player. So that tone shift is going to matter a lot psychologically. If you're the player and you're going like, oh god, this theme is weirdly ominous, it's very possible you as the player are going to react negatively to that, and you're not going to be as efficient as a player. So you might do something wrong. You might make dumb choices, and that's kind of what they're going for, I think, here. They want you to feel more oppressed in that moment. They want you to feel the weight of this area, the tension in it. They want that to press down much harder in a base than you would out in the world somewhere where it's just a normal theme. There's just a bunch of guys on the road. You can handle that. If they call for backup or something, whatever. It's like, what, 3 or 4 more people? Not in a base. You know, there's that constant threat that if the wrong person catches you, the entire base is now going to be on alert, and you're going to have to deal with every single one of them, and that can suck. I don't know how this game would handle that situation. I don't know if they do that. It's probably just standard fight themes inside the base, and you just handle a couple at a time, depending on what area you're in. They might call backup, but it's not going to be the whole building. But it could be. And that's exactly, I think, what they're doing here, which is a really cool approach for a base theme, just to have that extra energy, that extra oomph to really make it stressful. But I do think I've yapped about these enough, so I will call it here. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to request something else from Genshin, anything else from Nodcry or any other region, by all means, drop in the comments below, and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if you just enjoyed this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!